Wait, I don't know if that worked. Did that work? Yes.
Right.
Hello, future people. Welcome to Getting Tabled. I'm Jason the Bruce, and today we have another interview. We've had like 2 in a week. This is amazing. Today we have a winner of a local Bushido tournament. We have Ben.
G'day. How you going?
Not too bad. So, you're obviously local to you're local to me, ish.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah.
You're in Melbourne. I'm in Newcastle. I guess they're kind of close.
Well, Australia doesn't exist, so we're all just actors. We all live. We all live in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's it. And we get paid a lot of money to lie about Australia.
Yeah, because it's totally feasible and something that the world would do.
Yeah, flat. We were talking about dumb people before, and now we're talking about flat earthers. Like, natural progression, that they believe in hoop snakes and drop bears.
But they're a real thing. Like, we've got a game coming and everything.
Yeah. They're totally real. Totally real.
So obviously we'll get to the tournament in a minute. But do you want to kind of touch on like what brought you into the hobby initially? Is it the same path as everybody else, or did you come later in life, or?
Well, no, I've been gaming for quite a long time. Since 1994 is when I first had my first demo game, back when I was living in WA of, funny enough, GW. So, yeah, pretty much the same route as everybody, because, it was the biggest fish in the pond. Then, played 40K, played at school with friends, got a couple of mates into it as well, who I'm still friends with from primary school. I did a stint working for Games Workshop, went from casual to full-time, out of high school. And I think retail is an important lesson to teach everybody. Everyone needs to do at least 1 year in retail.
I agree.
Just to learn how truly horrible people are, especially around the silly season.
Oh, yeah. So we don't have it as bad as America does, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah, the stampedes for, like, Black Friday. No. But soon we will, because we follow.
They're definitely pushing that way.
Yeah, the amount of like sales, like is just crazy. So I, did learnt to play fantasy properly as a GW staff member, because as a kid it wasn't really my bag. Then I learnt to play Lord of the Rings, which was pretty interesting, and everyone jumped on the bandwagon, especially around the movies.
Yeah.
Then, when you're a GW staff member, you pick up everything. So, I used to play Mordheim, Necromunda, Gorkamorka even. A lot of games people haven't heard of. Even staffies make up our own games. Like, Grot Wars was always a good one. Everything on a 4+.
Interesting.
You just need 2 models, a Smacky Grot and a Shooty Grot, and you're good. That's a deep cut there. Only a few people are going to get that reference.
I am so asking my friend about this game.
Yeah. Troy Kukis from Warhammer. I was going to say Warhammer Castle Hill. It's now Balkan Hills. He taught me how to play that. There's dogs in the background. Sorry. Yeah, man. Then when I left Games Workshop, I sort of stopped and sort of realized there's other games out there, that aren't controlled by the big dog.
The machine.
And like War Machine, and I never really played War Machine. That was a bit, I don't know. I think GW hated War Machine. GW players and War Machine players sort of like started clashing, because it was like, it's like the younger brother not wanting to play with the bigger brother sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true. I was more like games that aren't controlled by the machine that is Games Workshop.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. Then I got into Infinity. That's really great. I found anything with a free rule set, I was like sort of like picking up.
How early did you go to Infinity?
I joined just as it became 2nd edition.
Okay.
So I didn't have to deal with
the same point where I told myself I was going to start playing, and I still haven't started playing yet.
Yeah.
I brought with... Crimson was the new one. Whatever the operation was at the time that came with that rule set. That's where I brought in, and I still haven't really played yet.
Ice Storm, I think it is. Yeah.
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I had a bunch of different starters. But yeah. And then I think what Infinity have done really well is with the just the learning how to play is the Code One. I think that's really cool, especially for new players because it's quite intense. And then after that, I think with my gaming group, they were like, "This is a game called Bushido," and I couldn't decide what faction to start. And my mate Steven was like, "Well, how about I get you Prefecture of Ryu, and which is like the samurai faction." And after watching, what is it, The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, I was kind of hooked. So anything samurai was pretty cool. And then I got into the Minamoto clan, which I think is my favorite clan out of all of them.
So,
And then
have you always been a bit of a tournament or competitive gamer, or is this more something new for you? Because not everybody likes that scene, obviously, which is fine.
Yeah, so it's hard because when you're a GW staff member, when you're a staff member and everything, like GW tournaments, like staff tournaments, which they hold, like kind of pushed into like this. You're getting paid to play just for a day, just to relax and stuff like that. So that's obviously before they went to one-man stores.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like ignited a little bit of a competition. I mean, I don't mind competition. I am more of a friend. I like to think I'm more of a friendly player. Like, I like just joking around and having fun. But I mean, it's fun, I guess, to try something different and go into a tournament. I've gone to CanCon a couple of different times to play in Infinity, and then obviously this year Bushido for the first time. But I don't mind competition. I think it's healthy competition though. I think if you become a rule Nazi and it's not fun for the other player, then that's when that's where I draw the line. I'm like, nah, that's not me.
There's certainly games that invite that more than others, I find. I obviously haven't been to a Bushido tournament yet, so I can't really say whether that would be one. Flames of War apparently is one of them. I've never played it though.
Yeah, I've heard things about Flames of War tournaments. I've heard a lot of things about like the GW, the 40k tournaments and
40k's been notorious about it since we were kids. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah. Because that's where like it's like childhood bullying. That's where you get your first licks in and
Yeah. I mean, to some extent, I mean, this is gonna come across like I'm hating on GW, and it's not the intention. But Games Workshop write their rules in a deliberate way where it's supposed to be debated.
Yes.
Because you're supposed to interpret the rules, and I think...
Yes.
I don't know if they do it deliberately, but it's definitely where part of that comes from, I feel, at least, anyway.
I also don't want to appear that I'm picking on...
No, and I'm not hating on Games Workshop. It's just
nor am I.
A difference between how some people look at rules.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like the rules as written, sort of thing, and it's sometimes some people will take advantage of that and put it like obviously in their favor.
Yeah.
And that can be across any game system. It's not just Games Workshop. It can be anything really.
It can be anything that's got something that you didn't notice. I mean, that's what FAQs are for, and everybody has them.
Erratas and FAQs,
Yeah.
Always good to read.
So, how did you find the Bushido tournament in comparison to your Infinity ones? Given they're both third party and probably a fairer comparison.
I found the Bushido one a lot smaller than the Infinity one, but obviously, I mean, we're in the current climate, COVID and everything. There were actually quite a lot of people that pulled out last minute, so I really felt bad for the TO in that case. But and
there was a change of TO at one stage as well because of COVID as well, or am I getting confused?
I don't think so. I think it was always Anthem.
I might be thinking of a different one.
Yeah, maybe. I heard that too on the day, but it wasn't for Bushido. It was for something else. Anyway, but yeah, so I felt bad for Anthony. A lot of people sort of like pulled out last minute, and also I think I've not been exposed to that side, but I was quite, me and him had some like sort of brief discussion about what's going on. The the CanCon Gaming Society didn't really keep him much in the loop about what was going on. Obviously, they've got a massive event to run, but yeah, he found that a little bit challenging. But I mean, compared to when I went last time in 2017 and 2016 for Infinity, it was those. I guess you can say those were the pre-COVID days, so it was a lot bigger. I was there on one of the days where it was Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and that was massive. Just this event was a little bit smaller because of limited numbers, and obviously, as I mentioned before, current climate.
Yeah, being the way that it is. The year that I went for a tournament for Drop Fleet Commander, which is obviously a very different scene again. And we did have small numbers because it was very much a growing scene at that point, still is. But that was the year where it was almost like 2-to-1 Age of Sigmar players to 40k. It was like 100 to like 40 or so. It was something stupid. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they were huge.
Yeah, 2017 when I went for Infinity, was the I remember like there was a big push on the Infinity players, basically like if you want a spot, buy now because the Age of Sigmar guys are going to push us out. And I think they managed to get like a bunch of extra spots that were originally reserved for Infinity. So just due to demand.
That happened. I'm pretty sure it's 2018 that I went because.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
That sounds about right. So I think it's happened the year after as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not as big as 40k, but like it's pretty competitive.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually never had a game of it really. And I've got a fully painted Iron Jaws army. Haven't played a proper game.
I have an army of Skaven ready to play that I haven't played with either. So
yeah, okay.
I had a number of things going on pre-COVID. Work made things very hard on that scene. But now that I'm working 9 to 5, it gets a little bit easier again. So I actually have been able to actually start playing Bushido. I'm obviously not at your level yet because I've only had like 2 games. Well, 3 if you include the demo that I did at PAX many years ago.
Okay, my level, like I played a fair few games of the previous edition. Now we're in the Rising Sun edition. And before I went into the tournament, I only had 5 games like under my belt. And I just pretty much, I think since the last edition that there's been a lot of rule tidy up, and GCT Studios have done really great to sort of make things a lot more clearer than the previous edition. Don't get me wrong, there's still I think there's like 12 pages or something of like different traits and attributes and stuff. So it is a very complex game. It's very diverse, but like it's what's the saying? Something is difficult to fun to learn, difficult to master is something to always play with.
I mean, the basics are definitely there. I mean, it's very easy to learn. Mastering, like we had a conversation yesterday about some of the very simple stuff that I hadn't even realised I was missing, and I even sidestep defense. Like it's one of the main things on all of my cards, and I never use it because I always forget about it. Well, in 2 games I've forgotten about it. But.
I learned about sidestep defense from a very the hard way, from a very handsome gentleman, Joel, who's one of the local guys here. I was playing his Ito clan, and he sort of like did a sidestep defense around my bear and like into its rear arc, and then just next turn attacked it. So the bear was like, it was surprised. It was then exhausted, and he got a lot of put a bunch of damage onto it. But I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you could do that. And then he was like, yeah, this is how it works. Then that's what I conveyed to you.
So it was a 3-round tournament or 3-game tournament. Yep. And you went very well, obviously.
Okay.
So you had your first game against the. Now I always say this wrong. Kage Kaze Zoku. The ninjas.
No, yeah.
Kage's easy because the board game is named the same thing.
Yeah, I went against I believe his name was Ryan. He's from Sydney. Against his ninjas, and we were playing sort of the mission there. Uh, and yeah, he's a good sport. I think ninjas are a difficult clan and faction to sort of to master. Like they're very few in number, and like they're supposed to be like these elite guys.
Yeah.
And then obviously they're going up against all samurai in heavy clad armor, which is the Minamoto's strength. They struggle to do a lot of damage. Yeah, it was a good game. What was it? I went. I think it was 0-1. I think it was,
Yeah.
but yeah, my way obviously. But yeah, it was. It came down pretty much to the line like of trying to like get the Vim, the very important miniature, as close as possible to the opponent's deployment zone. So like one of my Yuji, the big samurai guy, 20-point rice guy, so like ran off to his side, and he had a little Akimono ninja. I can't remember his name. But yeah, he was running towards my side of the board with a bear chasing him. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were playing So the first mission was Saigyo, and these will be up on the screen for those that are wondering. By the look of it here, you had it was a corner edge deployment, so you were literally going from corner to corner.
Yep.
For those that are not familiar with Bushido, just very quickly, it's a 2x2 foot game. So getting from one side of the board to the other isn't necessarily that difficult, except for the fact that you've got all these things in your way. And damage can sometimes be very quick and very... The melee in this really does feel like a sword fight in my experience. Like, it does feel like it is from the movies.
Yeah, it's very I always felt it's very like martial artsy. Like it's like, what is your opponent going to do? Are you going to use their momentum? That sort of thing. I think it's very unique, and I like it. So you basically need two different color dice. And you assign your dice secretly, and then you reveal them. And obviously, you let your opponent know if you're doing any special kind of trickery or key feat, or special attack in that moment, and then you resolve the dice. Then.
And you had a couple of objectives across the middle of the board that you could capture for points as well.
Yeah, and you would prey on them, which I believe is a complex action. So you use two of your activations, and so basically to influence it. And so I had a couple of my samurai run up in the middle, secure the zones, and sort of like interact with those objectives. He had the big master ninja guy with the hood. I can't remember his name. He came up, and I think it was the first time I ever saw that model. He was like, "Oh yeah, cool, I can do all this," and I was like, "Jeez!" And that's I just avoided that nasty ninja dude and tried to just focus on the objective.
I have a feeling I know which guy you're talking about too. I think it's the one I've done an unboxing of because I want to paint him up to look like an old Sega character.
Yeah.
It's an older gentleman, yeah.
Yeah, with the staff. Yeah, with the bow staff.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I know which one it is.
Yeah, I'm terrible with the names, and that's also one of the things that I struggle with is some of the pronunciation of the names because
different language.
They're very it's the language.
Yeah. When it comes to because this is a game that also has a small model count as well, so I guess the benefit of missions like this is obviously if you want to prey at those to get the points for them, it's also kind of taking somebody out that you could have been using for your offense or defense as well. So
True.
It means that you've got to think. I mean, you obviously were going to have more models than he had because he was playing a more elite faction than you were. So that probably helped in your favour a little bit. I mean, I don't know how many of those you were capturing, but...
so I think he had about 5 models from memory, and I had 7.
Yeah.
So, that's, I mean, I've got the big expensive armor dudes, but but also he's got the super expensive ninja dudes with all their trickery and everything. So if you go to if you're trying to secure one of the objectives and you got to take away model from that's supporting or helping out in one location. Minamoto have a faction rule called Bear Stands Alone, and that's if there's no friendly models within 3 inches of your model, you gain some benefits because their law is like they fight the Bakemono hordes and they're always outnumbered and they're used to always fighting on the front foot. So that gives me a bit of a perk, but at the same time, you're right. If you're trying to secure one objective, and then you're trying to take the fight to the enemy, it's it did lean a little bit in my favor because it was basically move up into a position and hold it. That's what I do pretty well.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, all good.
One of them found a pig's ear and the other one wanted it, and they were arguing. Fur children.
So in your second game, you went up against the Rokan, which is for those that are not aware, they're monks. It's Dragon Ball Z, it's Avatar, The Last Airbender. There's lots of animals, lots of monks. It's not literally those things. It just has those feelings.
They also have the lion dog statues that come to life and help them out and everything. So they're really cool. But yeah, you're right. It's very sort of robes, sort of very Dragon Ball Z, Avatar: Last Airbender. Each of the different monks have like their own, they can be earth, wind, fire, and air. So definitely very like Avatar. But yeah, they were really cool. I played against Mateo. He's a tough opponent. In the game, he took 2 masters. He took Master Poe, who's this big guy who basically just sits there and absorbs damage and fights along. So they basically go from like a student, a student monk to just your normal monk, and then a master. And the masters are very hard to defeat, especially in combat, because they have all these benefits and training. He also took Master. He basically took a little raccoon dude. I think it's Master Kira, I think it is. And he basically runs around, punches stuff, just interacts with a bunch of everything. But I think that one was a zone objective, so it was basically trying to get as many models as possible into zones of control. I think they're about 8 inches. Oh no, sorry, they're 4 inches. There was 3 of them. And basically trying to hold those zones.
Yeah, they're the ones that are going diagonally across the board.
Yeah. So the one that's on your side of the table, the one that's closest to you gives you like 1 point. The one furthest away from you gives you more points. So you want to try to secure your own base as well as attack the one. And the middle one usually is where you're fighting around. So I got lucky on that one. So basically, I exhausted Master Poe, who is this big, expensive dude, and in the middle, right towards the end of the game, and my samurai basically walked into combat with him and just went push attack, just shoved him out of the ring. I was like, yeah. And your whole base has to stay in the ring. If it doesn't, then you don't count towards scoring. So I ignored the raccoon, and that was running around doing all of its little hectic things, exhausting all my models. And I just was like, look, I gotta focus on that center objective and get it. He took it. I know you're a fan of like the silverback and everything. He took the one of the silverbacks. He painted it up pale white, like in Rampage.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. There was at one point there was a bear versus silverback, sort of a good old fashioned fight. Unfortunately for Mateo, the bear was the victor, but hey. That was a lot of fun. This big cinematic moment where Bear's charging into the combat with the silverback into just big slog fight.
And if you're going to have those two armies go up against each other, that's the fight that you want to see go down. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Also, the way that the temple work is they can still channel ki, which is the thing that generates your to use to get your special attacks and abilities, and they can basically because they're all about spirituality and one with the earth and everything. They can basically put where they want that key to be. So he can go like, okay, cool. Master Poe's going to do some really cool stuff. Let's boost him full of key. This guy's going to do some cool stuff. Let's boost him. So they can do that. And yeah, it's just, I find that hard because my guys are like, I'll move into combat. I'm going to move to this spot. I'm going to stay here, and you and me are just going to have a slogfest. And then just like all of a sudden, this round, one of the masters got all these other activations, and you didn't account for it. It's it's very, very tricky. But like, I mean, every faction has their strengths and weaknesses. Theirs, they don't have any armor, like pretty much. I think they have one model that has like armor 1. But yeah, it's like, yeah. As it is Dragon Ball Z, they're all bare-chested and, they're very monks.
Yeah, very much so.
So if you can get a good hit on them, you can take them out. But the Masters, once they're there, they're very difficult to move and fight in a combat because, they're Masters after all.
And in your last game, you were up against a Ronin force, by the look of it. It was Blood Brothers.
Yeah, so
how was that? Because Ronin's not something you... I mean, I know that there's fans of running the Ronin, but it's not something you see a lot.
Yeah, it's not. So the way that Ronin work is you pick a theme. In this case, I think he took a Blood Brother. Yep. He either took the Blood Brother theme or he took the Brotherhood one because he had Hiroto, the Drunken Master. The Black Eagle's back, and he took Eldest Brother. And he took the Blood Brothers and Old Zod, he's basically this Silver Moon character, and he basically goes, "Oh, you're going to spend key? Cool. Here's a thing called tax. It's going to be, you're going to give me some more money." It's a Silver Moon sort of faction that are all about like tricks and that sort of stuff. And I think he just used that in his list to have a bit of a benefit. I think that did pretty well against the ninjas. I think Jason beat Ryan with the ninjas because the ninjas couldn't pull off those feet because Old Zod was like, "Pay the man. If you want to do that, it's going to cost you extra."
Yeah.
But yeah, the Blood Brothers. I've only played a couple of games like socially, and so I went up against them, and like I think if you're not very experienced, they've got a lot of rules and a lot of special rules, and you can get confused. And I felt, unfortunately for Jason in this case, he was sort of an event. I think it was right towards the end of the day. He sort of forgot his sort of rules. I tried to help him out as much as possible.
Just mental exhaustion.
Yeah. And at one point he wasn't having fun, so I was just like, "Hey, cool. Let's just have a chat and blah 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 and have a bit of fun." But yeah, they're tough. And they're kind of a glass cannon. Like if you can get them in the right spot, you can, you can get them. You can do some really good stuff. But if you, unfortunately, if they're crashing up against armor 4 on most of my models, so they can't get most of their stuff off.
Yeah, would make it hard.
Yeah. Also, I took it's not probably a nice thing to do, but I took the Rice Bell Barricade. Which on the forums they've got massive 4-page article how good that is, and you can place it where you want as a terrain piece, and his movement into the 2 big zones with the objectives was hindered by that Rice Bell Barricade, so he had to come around, so that gave me some time to move up and secure those zones. Then he had Eldest Brother and Drunken Master flank on the right. On my left-hand side, which was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought they were going to come on the right. And yeah, there's nothing like having a Oni and a samurai, who are out for revenge, appear, and they did a bit of a beatdown on the bear, and they were tough to fight. Especially seeing as Drunken Master's got flank and then he's got booted, so he basically moves on the side and then he can do a move and he can go where he needs to. Yeah.
One of our players, Justin, actually plays your clan as well.
Minamoto, yeah.
Yeah, Minamoto, thank you. I was blanking on them. And the main reason that he picked them initially was because they were kind of it was just straightforward. It was just, this is just what they do. You don't really have to think too much. You just push forward. How have
They've done
you
this next in
found
their
that? Have,
city.
have you found that rewarding or limiting in the games? Because it can kind of go both ways depending on how your brain works.
Yeah, so I mean, I used to play like dwarfs for like Lord of the Rings, so they're very slow moving, heavily armored dudes. So once they get into a position, they're staying there, and that's it.
Yeah.
Good luck moving them. So like, and that's the same with Minamoto. Like they don't have very far, they're not fast, but they're heavily armored. So they can take a lot of damage, which a lot of people it's a bit of a shock. They're like, oh, cool, I'm going to get my samurai in there. And a samurai would normally do quite well. But then I'm like, cool, I'm armor 4. Like, I reduced the damage that you take. Um, so I'm a little bit nervous when it comes to, like, chip damage and, like, ongoing damage. So, like, poison, for example, like with, Blood of Orochi and stuff like that. That's, at the end phase, is going to do a bunch more damage to me. I mean, as I mentioned before, every faction has its strengths and weaknesses. Minamoto will never get heal or any, and they'll never get like movement boosts.
Yeah.
Pretty sure like that's what they're limited on. But yeah, it's usually the same sort of game. I move up as try to move up as quick as possible. But also I try to take things that'll slow down my quicker opponents. So like Blizzard as an event, which everyone is slow, so you can only move your basic movement, no running, and everyone counts as being in cover, which is always pretty good for me. And then just move up into a position and have a bit of a slogfest, which is always fun.
Yeah.
And the Tetsubos, just hitting someone with the Tetsubo is just I don't know.
They are a really nice looking weapon too. They just look mean.
Yeah, yeah, totally impractical, but like amazing. Yeah. I think Minamoto also do really well with like stun damage as well. So you have a lot of things where you can stun your opponent and sort of that will work in your favor. But yeah, I enjoy playing them. They're fun.
Now I know the bear is kind of the new hotness as far as the Minamoto is concerned, but was he your VIP or did somebody else really take that?
Okay, so I didn't take the nasty bear. Everyone was. I took Bear Light, so I took Tetsu, who, to be fair, I love him. He's one of my favorite models. The Big Bear, Yoko, whatever it is. 25 rice is a lot to pay for that bear, but his profile is nasty.
Very.
My local gaming group, they complain a lot about it. They tell me that if I start playing him, they're not going to play him anymore. So that's, obviously I want to play games.
But are they taking their big things?
Yes and no, I guess. I mean, I haven't faced the Ito, the two-headed snake. I haven't faced that yet, but that thing terrifies me.
I've got him, but I haven't used him yet. I do want to use him, but I haven't played him yet.
Yeah, I've heard he's really cool. And Ryu's got their 30-point Rice Dragon. It looks like Shenron from Dragon Ball Z, but blue.
Yep.
That's an amazing model. I haven't gone against that yet either. And I think I'll have to wear my brown pants if those two models rock up on the table for my opponent. I think my star player, if I had to pick a star player, would have to be Minamoto Ryo, which is the samurai that's, he's gone through hell and back. He's taken an Oni to the face, quite literally, and survived and walked it off. His lore is like he's kind of no longer, the big hero that he used to be. He's taken too much damage and he's like impervious to a lot of things. He's got durable. So samurai have like this ability when they take 4 wounds, they have like a unique effect, and Ryo's is durable. So the fact that he can only take 1 wound, per combat, unless you're doing combo attack or something like that, is really really good. And also he's got immovable, which a lot of people forget. So you can just basically move him up, and people are like, "Oh, I'm going to push attack you," and you're like, "I'm not moving anywhere. I'm staying here, and you got a samurai to fight." I always give him absolute loyalty because I think I played Joel and he basically controlled him for 3 turns, and I was like, I can't do anything to this guy because as I said, he's sort of a bit like not as good as it used to be. He doesn't have resistance to like the other samurai do. So he can be controlled and he can be manipulated. So because I think control is the thing that sort of scares me the most, because I've had bad experiences with it, especially in the previous edition as well. I just don't want my models controlled, and I want to be able to do what I want to do. So I make him immune to control because it's just his sort of like weakness.
Yeah, no, I can get behind that.
I think if I had to pick like a go-to model, it'll always be Rio. Like I'll always take him and go like, because there's things you can do with him and upgrades that like just will make him better. And he's already pretty good. And you can always just that durable as I said, is just amazing. Just like he's going to be reliable. He's going to be sitting there for a couple of turns, and then you can take events. Sorry, you can take like special cards, in this game. So there's some are called like an event, and you play it, and it gives you sort of like the ability, and it's called Hasty Bear, and it basically goes. That model counts as if it has 4 wounds. So you can basically go all out attack and go, I'm going to play Hasty Bear, and you can do a lot of damage on one model, and you're only going to take 1 wound. And that's, when you do that to somebody, it's a bit of a surprise because they're like, oh, I expected you, because you allocate your dice, I would have expected you to go all out defense. You're like, no, I'm going to do big hurt on that dude, and and I'm just going to take 1 wound. That's sort of like tricky as well. And then also things like Just a Scratch. I always take 2 of those. They're amazing. You just half the damage on like your on anything that you're taking. It has to be done before the dice roll, of course. So you have to play it before your opponent rolls to see what he's going to do. And if you're expecting like a big amount of damage on one of your guys, just play Just a Scratch and you halve it. Not great if they do a massive roll. You might be out of luck, but hey. So Rio is my. Long story short, Rio's my go-to guy and probably would be my VIP. Yeah. I think I've only lost him a couple of times in like social games.
How did you find the tournament scene in comparison to the social in this particular? Because in some games it can change quite a bit. Did you find that in the tournament or not so much?
I think anybody can. So in a tournament, everybody wants to win. I sort of went in there going like, hey, I just want to have fun. If I can win like maybe 1 game, I'll be happy. I think if I can walk away with more wins than I do losses, then I'll be a very happy chappy. There was a combat, the combat company. Anthony also ran a tournament a couple of months prior there, and we had a lot bigger turnout. But I just went in there going like, look, I want to learn the new game system, like the new rule set. That's my aim. I don't care if I win or lose. Yep. And a bunch of us from Newcastle went down, and unfortunately we kicked the teeth in of a bunch of all the Sydney players, and we came first, second, and third, and I came second.
Well, Sydney deserves it for being Sydney.
Yeah, I used to live in Sydney, so I have like mixed feelings, and I've been told I have to be here 10 years before I can call myself a Newcastle guy. But it's funny when you win things, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Newcastle." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." Well, but look, I think I enjoy social games more than I do a tournament.
I'm with you on that, to be honest, regardless of the game.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sometimes. I mean. I played Infinity. I think I aimed for like 8 tournaments in a year, and I got a bit burnt out from the tournament scene because like it was just like just the social the pressure, because you're like, okay, I want to take this dude, and it's like, well, why are you taking him? He's not good, and you're like, oh, okay, you got to think. You got to think like a tournament player, and if that's not really your mindset,
you're not that's the mindset I've always struggled with.
Yeah. And obviously, like, I think I'd rather like have a game with beers and chips and and laughs than than a tournament. But I think sometimes it's good to just scratch that itch. Like if you want to do something, like if you want to go try a tournament and stuff like that, go. Just like give it a go, give it a try.
Yeah.
If you go in there with like sort of high expectations that you're going to do great, you might not. But I think if just that realization, that you're gonna get 3 games in basically in whatever you're gonna play, and you're gonna learn a lot, and that can be really really valuable for some people because they learn a lot and they take a lot back from what they've learned. But for some people, like, oh, I got my face kicked in, and I'm not having fun. Then they're taking that away from it. But like,
yeah,
as I said, if I can go to a tournament and go, okay, this is my mindset. Like, my goal is to learn more. My goal is to have more wins than losses would be great. I think when I went to the combat company one, I was like, I would like to walk away today with a win, a loss, and a draw. That was like I want that. And I think I got 2 wins and a loss. So, but look, if you can, if you, I don't want to discourage people from the tournament scene, but like, yeah, just if try it out. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. And like, I know you prefer social gaming, and so do I. I mean, but yeah, I'm not going to discourage anyone from.
Oh no, not at all. Like for the big thing for me, and this is regardless of the game, is just, and I'm going to be the guy that says it. Dice hate me, and I have evidence that it's not just, oh, I'm gonna complain because it didn't work this time. No, I've got evidence that dice hate me. Really, they have it out for me.
So so we're not going to play any roulette tables with you.
No, that would be a very bad idea.
Lose all your money very quickly.
Yeah.
No.
But in saying that, you can still have fun. I mean, I still have games that go well, but just generally speaking, I tend to roll out a lot of ones.
You just need to buy better dice, man. Just roll better.
I've tried that. That didn't work either. I even have custom dice that say Bruce instead of 1.
Yeah. I remember I played in a staff tournament for GW, and there was a guy called Ben Makepeace, or Squig as we used to call him, and he rolled horribly in the game against me, and I felt so bad because he's a phenomenal painter, and he had this beautiful army, and like it was and I'm just knocking these models off, like winning combats and everything like that, and I was just like, oh man, like I feel horrible. I'm removing these beautifully painted.
I have had
models.
people have that reaction with me actually.
Yeah, you feel bad, and then so I went.
And then I feel guilty because you feel guilty.
yeah. So like you're winning and you feel bad. No, but like I felt really bad for him, so I went to the counter and I bought new dice and I gave them to him. I'm like, let's give these a go, and like he rolled a lot better. So sometimes new dice in the right moment, but it depends. I think what you need to do is you need to get one of those like you torture one of your dice in front of the other ones and just scare them straight. If that's put them in put one in a vice and go, hey, this could be you if you don't roll better. Look, it's a dice-based game. You're gonna have good rolls, you're gonna have bad rolls. Unfortunately,
that's just the way that it roll. That's just the way that it happens sometimes.
That's the way the dice roll. Yeah.
Yep.
That's them dice. Yeah. You can, I think there's what's the game? Warhammer Underworlds. Like some people go, what is it? Aggro, and they rely purely on like dice rolls, and they complain when they go against the people that just do the objectives and collect glory that way. And like they go like, oh, my dice hate me. It's like, well, you're relying on dice. You're relying on a factor that you can't control.
Yeah.
Whereas they can get objectives more securely because they're not relying on that dice. But it's
the benefit of Underworlds is it's been designed to play very differently from everything else that they've done. And I think to some extent part of the problem there is that people have always played Games Workshop games the same way and struggling to get over that hill to some extent. But the fact that it allows you to play both ways is really good.
Or a mix, because you can do like aggro and objective base, or you can all go out all objectives. There's multiple different ways to play, multiple ways to skin a cat. But yeah, I know what you mean. For example, when I was learning to play Infinity, I was like, oh cool, I got a sniper and a bell tower, and I was like, I can't move and shoot because snipers are a heavy weapon. And everyone's like, yeah, you can. You can move and shoot if you want. I'm like, oh, I can? Like just that mindset of getting out of Games Workshop? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Um, when it comes to tournaments, there's certain games that are more friendly than others, but
Yeah.
you've gone into it as someone that usually plays social, and you've done, quite frankly, very well because obviously you came out on top.
Look, the dice were on my side that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, so go ahead.
But, how did you? Because not everybody from that was going to be from your community. How did you find the extended community playing with for the first time? Was there stuff that you realised that you hadn't seen locally, or anybody
Yeah.
that any armies that you faced that you didn't have locally?
So I think ninjas. Like I've played ninjas before in the Combat Company one against, funny enough, the same Ryan. So a lot of the people that went to the Bushido tournament in CanCon went to the Combat Company tournament as well. I think all of them did. So the the factions like I don't see a lot of are the cult, which is sort of like for those who don't know what Bushido is sort of like a fantasy-based, sort of like um, Japanese sort of game. So it's sort of like their horror element. So it's like zombies. It's kind of like The Grudge, so the woman in white sort of thing. And their sort of play style is very different. I've not really come across them before, because I don't think they're quite popular. But yeah, I think for me, if I had to say what sort of like I rarely saw was in game three, Drunken Master and Eldest Brother. I've never come across Eldest Brother before, and he's got a bigger Tetsubo than I have, and that was very nerve wracking. So he's like this big giant ogre guy that's been around for thousands of years, and yeah, he's become best friends with Drunken Master because Drunken Master's given him all the sake, and they've become drinking buddies. Yes, and so I learnt a lot from that game because I've never played that model, and also with ninjas there were certain models that Ryan used that I've never seen used before, like the ninja Bakemono guy, and the it's hard to refer to them, but there's one. She's a. Let me have a quick look. She is the ninja that has the bow, and her model sort of leaping up and shooting. Very beautiful model.
Yes, I do know the one you're talking about too.
Yeah, it's not. I've versed Ghost, and in his list he took Ghost, and I know how scary Ghost can be. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. She's cool. I've never seen her used before, and I was really impressed with her, like what she could do, and I was like, oh wow, like that's a threat. Like for 22 rice, I was like, wow, she's really really good. But yeah, that Bakemono guy was a a pain in the butt to chase down. He's very very fast. But yeah, I mean, there's such a vast variety of models in this game. Not everybody, some models aren't going to fit everybody's playstyle. But yeah, I think walking away and going like, oh cool, I've never come across that model before. That was really cool to play against, like as I said, Eldest Brother and those different ninja models. And I've got a friend who's wanting to play ninjas, so I was like, hey Morgan, like this person is quite a cool model, and Ryan used this different combination, so try to help him out as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, they're all cool in their own little way.
Yeah, and if you're someone that gets into anime or just Japanese lore in general, you will find a faction that you're going to fall in love. It's just going to happen.
Yeah. There's a lot of,
or potentially several.
Yeah. I'm cursed with that. I've got Minamoto, Tengu, so half demon, half human sort of people. I've got Ryu, and I've got Shiho, which are like the outcasts. They play very guerrilla warfare sort of style.
That's the new one. Yep.
Yeah, those models. I think they got me back into it because I was like, oh, those models are beautiful. Especially like the Wolf clan. They were really really cool. I'm just looking at my shelf going like, what have I got? But yeah, so yeah, you'll not just 10. It's not just 10 models. You'll end up buying. You'll once you bit, you bit.
Yeah.
Um, I ended up.
Why did you take Minimoto for the tournament? Any particular reason? Is that your main or?
It's become my main faction. I now own every model that they have, and I'm waiting on the new Big Bear.
Yep.
I've got a stand-in from Guild Ball. I never played Guild Ball, but I managed to track down that big giant charging one. That bear, I can't remember, Cisa or something, whatever its name is. But yeah, I think I've become a bit of a Minamoto Bear Clan. They tend to be my go-to. I don't know. I just like their playstyle. I think when I went into like for the combat company one, I was like, I spoke to my local gaming group and I was like, guys, look, I've not played many games. Like, can we arrange someone show me how to play the new game system? And I only managed to get 2 games in, but I was like, look, I want to paint. I was like, I want to practice games, but also I don't want to paint up many models. So I was like, Minamoto a low count. Yeah, I'll give them a go. And I had already painted up some models, so I was like, for this game, so for this tournament, I only needed to paint up 2 models, one being Ryu and one being the bear. Is the only one I needed to paint up. So got them painted up and then practiced some games and then we went to the combat company. But yeah.
What's the combat company like as a venue is concerned? I mean, most of us are familiar with it as an online store, but what's the actual store itself like to play at?
So I had been there. So obviously I lived in Sydney before. I've been there a few times. I've spent the day going down and done instead of online shopping, physically seeing what you want. It's massive. It's bigger than you think. It's a massive warehouse, and they've basically managed to find some space to have some tables. I think when we went there, there was so there was us playing, and there was they had Magic the Gathering playing. They had some guys playing 40k as well, and everyone was wearing masks, and everyone was doing the social distancing, thing, which is good. And the staff members were they're great. They were very polite and trying to help you out as much as possible, but also trying to remain the 1.5 away. They're always helpful. I think the guys that ran the tournament, so Anthony was the TO again, Matteo, Ryan, and the guys there that they normally frequent there, so they were just regular guys. But yeah, it's not bad. I would highly recommend it. It is in the middle of like an industrial sort of section
because it's a warehouse. Yeah,
it's a warehouse. So once you get past that, I mean, it's no problem. There's food down the road as well. Got a lot. There's better. There's a fair option. But yeah, I know a lot of people had problems with the old staff at Combat Company, from what I've heard. But I couldn't recommend it more. It's great. I would go there anytime.
I haven't had experience with the physical location, but from an online point of view, I would, as someone that had mixed opinions, mixed experiences, I would say that it's almost chalk and cheese. In comparison to what it was.
Yeah, so Steven is the new manager there. He's amazing.
Steve's been really good, yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely under new management, and you go. So that's the thing is I don't want to put shit can on it. I don't want to shit can on anyone or anything.
No, and that's not the way you. Well, I don't think that's how you were coming across.
Yes,
you were just acknowledging because you kind of suspected that somebody was going to say something if you didn't.
Yeah. No, but Steve's great. You can always have a chat with him, and he'll give you as much time in the world that you need. And he'll answer any questions and be as helpful as possible.
And the man doesn't ever seem to sleep, I've noticed.
Yeah, he's a workhorse. He's a workhorse. I know when we were there and we were all like, hey, we want to buy these models, he was just like, okay, all right, let me try to help you out. And he was like, this is where it's located and let me help you out. And he was I think one gentleman couldn't find what he was looking for, and he went over to the shelves himself, and he like dug out through all like these little bins and tried to help out, him out because the web store said he did have a couple of those. Unfortunately, yeah, he didn't. In
That
fact,
happens.
I bought the last model, so I feel bad. But Combat Company's great. It's really really good. They were there also at CanCon as well.
Yeah, they go every year.
Yeah, the tournament was held on a Monday, so everyone was wrapping up.
Yep.
And I think we had like a lunch break, and I managed to run over and say hi, and to the Combat Company guys, and was looking for some, I think I was looking for a wet palette at the time, but yeah, they were in the middle of packing up the store, so I just I didn't want to bother them.
Yeah.
So I said hi, hoped everyone was doing great, and they said that they had even for current climate, they did quite well, so that's always good to see. But yeah, no, they're great.
Now, CanCon, maybe we should have touched on this earlier. I have mentioned in the podcast a couple of times what CanCon actually is. And with the exceptions of probably the 40k Masters and whatever the Age of Sigmar equivalent is, CanCon, from what I've always seen, has always essentially been it's the tournament of tournaments for most of the games that are around competitively. It's usually the biggest, because PAX doesn't have a tournament scene, it's just all casual games.
Okay.
How have you found that? Because I know it's huge in Infinity. To the point that's where they decide whether it's a potato cake or a potato frisbee or whatever else it is every year, which is a stupid argument that it makes me laugh every year.
Well, where do you sit on that? Where do you sit on that fence?
It's a potato cake.
Okay. Yeah. Do we end up now, or do we wrap up now?
Do we know who won this year? I don't even know who won.
I can't remember. Well, I did have the patch for frisbee cake. I think it got called one year. But yeah, it's fun. It's a funny little conversation. What is it going to be this year? What's the Infinity community going to refer to it as? Shall it be a cake, or shall it be a frisbee disc? Potato scallop, I think is the other one.
Yeah,
potato scallop is the correct term. So I mean, it's big. It's from like it's Australia's. So CanCon is Australia's biggest wargaming / board gaming now gaming convention. So for like our international viewers, if you have any, it's sort of like it's like sort of like Adepticon, but not quite as big.
It's that's probably what I would. Yeah, it's not a Gen Con. It's an Adepticon. Yeah,
it's like an Adepticon. Yeah,
it's more UK Games Expo than Salute. Or am I getting that backwards? No,
I think Salute's the bigger one, isn't it?
Salute's the shopping one, and UK Gaming Expo is the tournament one. I think I could be wrong.
Yeah. This sounds familiar. But yeah, so it's like our Adepticon. So there's a lot of like tournaments going on. Like I've gone there, 3 times now. I've never had a problem. I've enjoyed every time I've gone there. I think, as I mentioned, as a kid, we're in this climate. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
Now, instead of being like all, you're rubbing shoulder to shoulder with another sort of like gamer. You're trying to keep your distance and trying to be careful for like your own health. Not only your own health, but like family at home that you might bring something to. But no, it's a great event. And I really like, if anybody said like, oh, should I go, or maybe I don't know, or umming and ahhing, go, give it a try.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely give it a shot. But they usually have like massive amounts of like different games. Like I saw some things I've never seen before, like a lot of like Napoleonic sort of style play. That was quite interesting to look at. I was like, I've never seen anything like that before. Obviously, I think I'm a very 28 millimeter sort of like model person, so like 15.
Same.
Yeah, so 15 millimeter doesn't really sort of interest me, but it was quite interesting. This like these big fields and hills and stuff. They also have there is a section, like as I said, Combat Company were there, so I think they had good games and they had a bunch of different retailers sort of selling things. There was some crazy guy running around trying to sell everybody dice. Oh, you probably need this like dice luck like mascots. So you put them in your dice bag and they're meant to bring you luck and everything.
Oh, that's a cool idea. I mean, it won't work for me, but it's a cool idea.
Yeah, he'll probably die in that bag, but you know. But no, yeah. So there's a lot of things like that. So like there's like the war gaming element in one big sort of like one side of like the venue. It's the exhibition center, and the other side of it there's sort of like all the gaming sort of element. There's a bunch of like you can rock up and play board games, and you know if that's your thing. They had a painting like sort of competition as well. I think they had a big Magic the Gathering sort of turnout as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's usually like it's a 3-day event, and usually Saturday and Sundays are the most popular days, and so Sunday,
generally.
yeah, when it's running down. But yeah, you can even just rock up and have a look, and if you want to like feel like this game interests me, it's at CanCon, and you want to like go have a look, like
Yeah. And if you're attending CanCon and you only intend to look, then it doesn't cost you anything to get in. It only costs you if you're going to be playing something.
correct. So yeah, then I mean, when I was there and playing Infinity, like we're playing on like these big sort of like sci-fi boards, and I had a guy. This is like a couple. I think this is in 2000. And I think this is in 2016. This guy was like, "What game is this?" And I was like, "Oh, this is Infinity." Like, and he was just like, "Oh, what's it all about?" And he sort of like stood there and watched us play a tournament game. And he was just like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And I think he ended up picking up like a starter box set, at one of the venues there. And you see that all the time. People are like, "Oh, what is this?" And they just they rub a neck and have a look and see what's going on. And I mean, if someone shoos them away from that, they're a twat. They shouldn't be there.
Agreed.
But I think we had a guy and a bunch of and his kids come up and be like, "Oh, what's this game?" And we're like, "This is Bushido." And he was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." And he was like, "Oh, very what is it, 47 Ronin?" And I was like, "Yeah, sort of like that mythology."
Actually, that's a very good analogy.
Yeah. So I was like, and I said like, "Yeah, so like this would be like this and this would be like that." He's like, "Oh yeah, cool." So and it draws heavily from Japanese and Chinese mythology. So as I said, there's like dragons, there's giant bears, there's giant eagles. Also, what are they called? Oni, which is like the
demons.
Their demons. Yeah. Eldest brother was probably the only Oni there. He's not quite full Oni, but he's I'm looking at mine on the shelf. That after playing Jason, I was like, I gotta paint this guy up. He's great. So yeah.
I think the main thing I would say when it comes to CanCon, I would definitely agree with you. It's definitely something that if you're into tabletop gaming at all, or even if you're just curious, it's an event that you must go to at some point.
Mm-hmm.
My only thing is I would say I would probably try to pick something that you want to see before you walk through those doors. Because you can get lost very quickly because all of the tables from a distance all look the same. And you kind of have to look for the table to know what you're looking at. Because they don't really have, this is the 40k area, for example. You kind of have to walk through till you find what you want.
You can always tell where the 40k gamers are.
Oh, yeah. I just use that as an example.
They're the ones with little flies on them, especially, No, okay.
No.
No, yeah. So, I mean, Canberra Gaming Society, they have a webpage, and, they will list on CanCon, so when it comes to CanCon, like, what games are going to be there. And they usually have like a location as in this is where it's going to be, but obviously that could be subject to change. Like for example, our venue changed location,
yes,
just due to like the current climate. I hate saying that, but it's the phrase. But also, I think they also do. Not only do they do CanCon, I thought they also did WinterCon as well, which is like their mid-year thing as well. Do they still do that? I myself don't know.
Good question. I know that there was another one at one stage, but I don't know. CanCon is the big one in Australia, though. I mean,
Yeah,
BrizCon is another one. I haven't been to BrizCon, but I know that is also quite large. And
yeah,
otherwise, in Melbourne, you've got ARC, which is just a tournament. I assume that Sydney would have something similar.
I would think I think Moab would probably be
I have
Sydney's
heard
sort
of
of,
Moab. Yeah, that
yeah,
rings a bell.
Mother of all battles or whatever it is. Yeah, I've been to Moab. That's actually not bad. I think that would be up there with like Sydney's biggest. Sydney's sorry, New South Wales is so big.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've never been to BrizCon either. Something I wanted to go to. I know that there's I think they're potentially doing Bushido there too. But I just don't think I took off that time to go to CanCon. I don't think I could sweet talk the wife to let me go and do another one.
That is always
Especially we're doing.
Yeah, and that's always going to be a thing because I mean it usually gets held on the long weekend. This year, obviously, Anzac Day was in the middle of the week, but no, sorry, Australia Day was in the middle of the week. But normally, it gets held the weekend that's connected to Australia Day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I took like because it's from Newcastle. It's a bit of a longer drive than what I was used to for going to CanCon. But yeah, so I took a couple of extra days just to so that way I didn't have to drive and through exhaustion because when you do a tournament and you're there all day and it's usually quite it's quite hot and everything like that, especially here in Australia. Just you're mentally exhausted. There's nothing worse than driving home. Like
if you can get to CanCon and you're going to be playing, hopefully you're in the air-conditioned building because the other one's horrible.
Yeah, they got these little fans that just circulate all the heat. We were in the main exhibition part, so we didn't get the aircon. So yeah,
it's a rather
I
old
think
venue.
Yeah, it is. It's quite an old.
I mean, it's a good venue, but it's old. It shows its age.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I would love to go to BrizCon. Give that tick that off my bucket list. But
yeah, I need to get the rest of my stuff painted because I have so many things that need to be painted. It's not funny.
Yeah, I moved down from Sydney to Newcastle due to everything changed and I wanted to buy a house. So it's a lot more affordable here in Newcastle. I'm one of those guys that jacked up the prices. So sorry guys. And yeah, I got to admit, I sold off a lot of my stuff that I had been sitting there for a long time and hadn't been used. But that's just me. I sort of did a bit of a cull. I was like, okay, do I play with this? No. Well, I should give it a good home. So I sold my Lord of the Rings dwarfs and a bunch of other things. And I'm probably gonna do another cull again and go, what do I want to get rid of? And I'll use that money to, funnel and get more.
Yeah, I keep on saying I need to do that myself as well. I've almost gotten rid of all of my Infinity stuff several times at this point. I kind of 2 or 3 times a year I go, I'm just not playing this. I'm never going to play. I should just get rid of it. I was like, no, because I still want to play it. And I do genuinely still want to play it. But I have 3 starter sets in that garage that have never been played with. What's the point?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
I fell into the Malifide hole instead of the Infinity hole there at one point, and that's a game that I fell absolutely in love with.
Yeah,
they play very similar, but they're very different games.
Yeah, I never got into Malifaux. I got into Infinity. I remember having a conversation with my mate, and I was like, hey Morgan, we should try this game out. These things we both don't want to play 40k anymore.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, what is it called? I'm like, it's Infinity. So it's kind of like Ghost in the Shell, and you only need 10 models, and that's a lie. You want all the options. So we always just.
But that's the same. Look, I'm playing Bushido. I only need 6 models. I mean, I could go 7, but I only need 6 or 7. And then I bought a whole heap of second-hand stuff, so I have 20 or 30 models for the one army now, and there's still at least 15 I don't own. Because Ito is one of the originals, so there's so much more for that than there is for the newer ones.
That's true. Ito, you're blessed with lots of options. Though Minamoto, they did sort of like a bit of a push, and they got a bunch of new models like those throwing disc dudes.
Yeah.
They're kind of cool. And yeah, so like yeah, Ito, I think you're a bit spoiled for choice, really.
Very much so.
Same thing as like Silver Moon and so Silver Moon's like the gangsters and the Yakuza
Yep.
and the cult players. Like you're spoiled for choice, so you know.
Yeah. Shiho are definitely getting a push as well. They're not because they're obviously a year behind
The
the
new hot,
Minamoto, so they've got a little way to go before they'll be at that level yet.
yeah, they're the new hotness.
Yep.
They're those model like they have like really improved with the sculpting. Those
Yes.
models are amazing. So they're like
As someone that, because I got into the game after Risen Sun, I had a demo at PAX and I was like, because Bushido was a game that, truth be told, I'd been watching for a long time, but I didn't know anybody that played. So well, why would I buy it? Nobody's playing it. And I had a
yeah,
demo and I was just like, I don't care if I don't have anybody to play with. I kind of just want to own this stuff. Now, I actually have found people to play with, which is great. But I owned Bushido for almost 2 years before I had my first game. Largely because, obviously, the pandemic and everything. But
yeah. So as I mentioned, a friend of mine got me into Bushido. He gave me the Ryu starter set as like as a present, and
yeah,
so I'm very grateful for him. He had a gaming group, and they played it. But I think what happened was like they were like, "This is the Bushido. This is Bushido. This is like what we're gonna play." And I remember looking at all the models, and I was like, "I'm spoiled for choice. Like these are all the
it's
models." This is the thing is like you look at now at the older models that I was like, this is really cool and very different and very unique. And you look at those older models and you're like, they're trash compared to the new ones. But I mean, they were very different, very pretty, very like they're a joy to paint. Like you pull them out and you're like, oh cool, I'm painting this cool thing. And I remember being really spoiled and I was like, I don't know what to play. And everybody had sort of picked like their faction, and I was like, oh, I don't know. And he was just like, look, you like samurai? You like what was it? The Last Samurai movie? And I was like, yeah. And he's just like, I got you. And he bought that for me as a present. And I'll be forever thankful for Stephen for giving me that. I still have this Rio starter set. I've got a few more models to them, but I think Tengu had just so after we had played for a little bit, Tengu just got a release, and just those half bird, half like just that mythology element of it. Like they were just very unique, and I painted them up, and yeah, I really enjoyed playing with them as well. They play very differently in Minamoto. They're like I mean Ito are fast, but Ito the Snake Clan are fast, but Tengu are faster.
what's the average movement on the Tengu?
I believe 5 or 6, but also a lot of them because of their wings, they can move an additional 2 at the start of the defense and they all got cloud walk, so because they got wings.
Yeah.
Except there's a bit of in the world. There's a race of the Tengu that don't have wings, which are sort of like the road runners, but they're very fast, and they've got a couple of models of them. But yeah, I don't know, just they're just really pretty. And when
Yeah.
you're done painting them, I love putting extra details into the base. So like you put the flower the flower tufts and everything like that. I've never used any of those before in my life. And then this sort of like you're looking at your model, you're like it needs something else because it's so pretty. And then you're like, oh, well, why don't I try like white flowers? That'll look really cool. And I bought those tufts or birch seeds as well, just to give them that fallen leaf look.
Yep.
Yeah, they're really, it's a lot of fun.
I think the big thing with me with the change of the models, because I have some old stuff and some new stuff, is the building of the new stuff is much easier than the building of the old stuff, because you've got the lugs, because everything's metal for those that are not aware. You've got those lugs that like it'll only go one way, and it very clearly goes that way. None of this holding it 500 different ways just to figure out how the arm is supposed to sit.
Yes, yeah. I think the more the technology grows, the better. Like we're going to be spoilt, for like quality of models. It
Yeah.
was the same. It's the same with Combat Company.
Yep.
Corvus Belli.
Yes,
For
yes.
Infinity, like those models were like she because they're like anime sort of style, like Ghost in the Shell, like very very thin, and like the arms have to join in a certain way. This was the same, so I struggled with some parts, and some of my older models have got like a little bit of extra super glue here and there.
Yep.
But the new models, they're great.
Yeah.
You're right, the lugs fit in one way. I would say also that Bushido's, if you're really heavily into converting, Bushido's. I mean, I guess you can fool around with it, but Bushido's like, this is the model, this is how it is. You can
Yeah.
I mean, this is how it is. I've done one conversion so far, but yeah, I don't need to scratch that itch for converting with these guys. They're too pretty as it is.
Yeah, it's because everybody's a character. It doesn't really. You don't. Well, I don't feel I need to do that.
Yeah.
There is one of my characters, the Temple Bushi, where his ponytails come off, and as much as I keep on trying to pin it or what, it's not staying. So I'm very tempted just get rid of it entirely and get rid of where it's connected to, and just make it so that it looks like his hair's shorter. I know it's not
Yeah,
going to work, but it's either that or I buy a new mini that I already own, and I really don't want to do that.
yeah. The same
I'm
thing
also
with
someone that avoids the conversion thing because I have an allergy to green stuff, and by allergy I mean I'm no good with it and I don't want to touch it.
and that's the thing, is it's not your thing. Like
Yeah,
converting.
I just don't have the skill.
Yeah, that's fine. Just not having skill, that I took a couple of years off to focus on, like, saving money to buy a house,
Yeah.
and then we went in, we fell into the pandemic. So like I had a year off, 2000 and what was it, 19, then COVID hit. So basically 2020 barely did any sort of like um, any hobbying at all. And then I saw the new Shiho models, and I was like, oh, I really want to paint them. And I remember playing my paints and my paintbrush and trying to paint. And I was like, oh God, you're very rusty, kid. You better you better practice a little bit. So I needed to do a
There's
little
definitely a
fair.
muscle memory thing there.
Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
But that's fine. If converting is not your thing, there's no problem. And if you have an allergy to green stuff, I guess that just helps you.
That's just my excuse. I don't actually have an allergy.
I know, I was playing along.
All right. Well, thank you very much for today. Bushido is definitely like, obviously, like I love Bushido, and want to get further into it. It's one of a couple of games that I'm concentrating on at the moment because I don't have enough games. But I very much appreciate being able to give people a sign of like that there is actually a tournament scene here in Australia. I mean, obviously the Australians know that, but you kind of get lost in your own world. I mean, I know that there's an American scene because obviously we hear about it every 3 minutes, but there's not really much of a reason for the UK or the Americans to find out what's happening here. So I think it's good to get that message out there, and I'm glad to hear that despite a few people pulling out, the tournament actually still went ahead.
Yeah, I remember speaking to the TO, and I basically said, like, oh, is it still going to go ahead, like, because I'm here. And then he was like, yeah, we're still going to go ahead, like, no matter what, like, we're gonna play. And I mean, even at my local sort of event, like, we were playing Bushido, and we invited the guys up from from Sydney, to come play with us in Newcastle. And I think we also ran a couple of like demo games as well, just to, because people are like, what is this game about? And it's a great game. There's like, you can. It's also the fact that they're smart. Like, they've given the rules for free, like on their website.
Yes.
You can download the rules and learn how to play. And it's okay. You can, like anything else. Like, the more you do something, the more you'll know it. But if you want to get the lore and the fluff, buy the books.
Yeah.
Combat Company have a great selection as well. But
And
yeah,
are
so I
actively
think,
supporting it. Like, they're actively getting orders in quite regularly.
yeah, they are.
So.
Yeah, and as I said, they have a regular bunch of guys that go there too. So Yeah, if anybody wants to like play or learn more, I think also there is I think it's bushidothegame.wiki and it's got all the profile, all the cards, all the it's got the rules, um, and it's a good resource as well. So if you're like, oh, what does what, and it gives you information about the cards, and everything like that. Even there are some YouTube videos out there about like how to play, like what is an activation, and GCT Studios have their own YouTube channel.
Yep. Which I found very helpful, actually.
Yeah, it's very basic. It's very like it's basically out of the rule book. Like this is how an activation works and blah blah. Blah. But it's I always recommend it to anyone wanting to learn. But yeah, I'm always happy to talk about Bushido gaming systems, everything like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so thank you very much for having me on.
No, thank you for reaching out. I very much appreciate it.
No problem.
Talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, mate.
Thank you very much for checking out this video. If you're enjoying the content of this channel, please like and subscribe. If you're in a position to do so, please check out patreon.com/gettingtabled. You receive early access to at least 80% of all videos that we put out, and you get access to the video edition of all of our podcasts the day that they're uploaded. If you'd like to check us out on social media, facebook.com/gettingtabled is the most active. We also have a Discord server. You can email our team at gettingtabled@gmail.com. If you're on either Twitter or Instagram, you can find us at gettingtabled. And until next time,